Class is now in session. I'm Professor Hockey, and today will be another Sharks Weekly recap, this time of both Week 16 and Week 17. Of course, both of these weeks were cut short due to the All-Star game and bye-week combination, and so the Sharks only played Monday, Tuesday of Week 16, and then Saturday of Week 17. Therefore, it gives them 3 games in the combination, and so it seemed like a perfect opportunity to just put 2 recaps into one, so I wouldn't be doing a single game recap, basically. So the Sharks started off Monday of Week 16 with a game against the Florida Panthers in Florida. The Sharks' first 2 games of this 4-game road trip they found themselves on were 2 losses to the Coyotes and the Lightning, and in both games they let in 6 goals. The Sharks were looking to avoid that here tonight, but they could not manage to do so. They lost this one 6-2. And this was a game that seemingly was somewhat within reach. Coming into the third period, the Sharks were tied at 2, but a couple of poor penalties, particular Evander Kane taking them, a double minor for him, sort of spiraled this game out of control. The Panthers scored 4 third-period goals. Martin Jones was pulled in this game, and the Sharks lost it 6-2. The Sharks then immediately had to fly to Washington to play the Capitals, defending Stanley Cup champions, the next night, and the defense certainly wasn't any better than it was against the Panthers. They let in another 6 goals. However, the Sharks come up huge offensively. They get a goal in the last second of the third period to tie the game at 6, and then with 3 forwards on the ice in the overtime, they managed to get the overtime winner to win it 7-6. And so a road trip that seemed maybe somewhat lost did end up with 2 points, and it was also a decently high note to end on going into the All-Star break. The Sharks claimed 2 of a possible 8 points on that road trip. Nothing to be happy about, but at least the 2 points came at the end of it. The Sharks then had a major break, 10 days off for every player not named Pavelski, Karlsson, and Brent Burns. The Sharks returned to action on Saturday, that was just a couple days ago, against the Arizona Coyotes, and it did take overtime again after the game started off rather slow and then picked up and became a bit sloppy in the last half of it. But it was tied at 2 going into the overtime. The Sharks came up huge with a Brent Burns beautiful overtime goal to make it 3-2, and the Sharks got the extra point in what was a pretty key extra point in the Pacific Division standings. On to the offensive leaders of the couple of weeks, I guess I should say. Joe Pavelski led the way thanks to a 4-point game he had against the Washington Capitals. 2 goals for him on the week, putting his total up to 28, a team leading 28th, as well as 4 assists and 6 points to put himself up to 46 points. Tomas Hertl, 3 goals for 22 goals on the season. Those 3 goals came in a hat trick against the Capitals as well. 2 assists and 5 points, putting his point total also up to 46. Then Logan Couture, 2 goals and 3 assists on the week for 5 points, 48 points on the year now. Brent Burns extends his team leading point total, 1 goal, 4 assists for 57 points now on the season, 5 points on the week. And I said that leads the team. That also leads all defensemen in the NHL, of course, in points. Then Timo Meier finally broke his massive goal drought, got a goal against the Florida Panthers, as well as 4 assists in the rest of the week, 5 points for him, putting his point total up to 47. Just a small note about Meier. Yes, Meier technically only has this 1 goal in his last 20 games, and you do hope Meier is going to be sort of a goal scorer as his career goes on, but it is sort of a decently positive note that even during this 20-game cold stretch of him not being able to put more than a single puck past the goaltender, he still has 15 points. That's 14 assists to go with his 1 goal. So even, as I said, in a cold streak, he's managing to put up about 0.8 points per game, and it's a good sign going forward for Timo Meier once he does get his mojo back, once he does start finding his game again, at least goal-scoring wise, that the assists will follow with him. On to the news of the week. Of course, it was released that Joe Thornton, for the majority of this first half of the season, I guess if you call the first half up to the All-Star game, he's been playing on an infected ankle as well as a broken toe. Now, of course, Joe Thornton did miss 9 games basically at the start of the season. I guess he wasn't fully healed, or maybe something came up later on, but of course, Joe Thornton, very difficult to keep him out of the lineup through injury. He, of course, is going to want to play through anything as that is possible, and Thornton was actually quite serviceable during that time, actually pretty good, nothing elite or anything like that, but that's not to be expected from a 39-year-old a player of his age, but maybe even Thornton could get better now if he is fully healed and he's going to be playing down the stretch here. Hopefully nothing bad happens to him, because he has been somewhat injury prone in these past couple of years. It would be unfortunate if he goes down with something major again. Finally, To end off the news of the week, of course, we have to talk about Erik Karlsson. He missed the final 3 games before the All-Star break, the final 3 games of that road trip, all 3 games that were pretty tough defensively. And then while he did participate in the All-Star game, he then missed the following game after it against the Coyotes that happened just a couple of days ago. And Erik Karlsson has been a major part of the Sharks team thus far. You could see in the 4 games that he has missed due to this injury, the Sharks have not been that great. They have technically won 2 games, but both in overtime. One of them you could say that, they were 1 second away of just getting 0 points in general. And so Erik Karlsson, he's still questionable for tomorrow, which is unfortunate. Hopefully he does come back at some point during the first couple of games of the road trip, as I said, against the Jets and the Flames, 2 huge games for the San Jose Sharks points-wise. And he would be a huge part of that, but I can understand holding Karlsson out of the lineup. You do want him to be at 100%. You don't want anything to be re-aggravated because of just how important he is as a player to this team. And just sort of a bit of... good news is that this isn't related to his ankle surgery he had in the 2017 offseason. So at least, it's not going to be too horrible of an injury. And Erik Karlsson should hopefully be back at some point during this road trip within the next few days. Class dismissed.